Thank you for tuning in to the Practical Preservation Podcast. Please take a moment to visit our website, practicalpreservationservices.com, for additional information and tips to help you restore your historical home. If you've not done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and also like us on Facebook. Welcome to the Practical Preservation Podcast, hosted by Danielle and Jonathan Kepperling. Kepperling Preservation Services is a family-owned business based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, dedicated to the preservation of our built architectural history for today's use as well as future generations. Our weekly podcast provides you with expert advice specific to the unique needs of renovating a historic home, educating by sharing our From the Trenches preservation knowledge and our guests' expertise, balancing modern needs while maintaining the historical significance, character, and beauty of your period home.
Today on the Practical Preservation Podcast, we have Dawn Foster from Masonry Cosmetics Incorporated. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It really is.
So tell me about your background.
So I started in the brick industry just a little over 35 years ago. College student looking just for some summer work, and got into a brick plant. And at the end of that time, they said, "Hey, do you want to stick around and work? What are you going to do for a living?" I didn't know what I wanted to do,
Right.
So I started working in a brick plant. So basically did most of all the jobs as a laborer in the brick plant, and made brick shapes, which was very fascinating to me, and set a lot of brick, packed a lot of brick, eventually put a lot of coatings on brick as a sprayman, and eventually became a glaze foreman, got promoted, and learned a lot about on-globes and slurries and coatings. And kind of that was the thing that got me to where I'm at today, learning about all those different types of products that we do. Basically, after that, I eventually got promoted into management, did a lot of production and scheduling, a lot of complaint resolutions. You learn about all that, and the brick don't always match right, run to run. And eventually got promoted into sales, and which took me back about a 17-year ride right back to the plants again, operating a few of the brick plants in the days. Had an opportunity later to start a company, standing company, with Rick Connor, my business partner, who we're still together today. We've been together for about 26 years now, but also had an opportunity to go to work and get part ownership of a brick dealership. Was president architectural sales rep at Rose Brick in South Bend, Indiana. And that was a really good ride for me to learn a lot about the business and, the difficulties that everybody runs into sometimes, especially matching,
Right.
When they're trying to do those kind of things. So I got to do that for a while. And then the staining side of the business I was a part of really started to grow. And as the brick staining grew and we got into some of the DIY kits and all that, I left Rose at 7 years working for them. And then I've been doing just full-time with Masonry Cosmetics right now.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that's kind of how my husband started in preservation. He was in college. My dad asked him if he wanted to come work with him for the summer, and then he just never left. So it's
Yeah,
kind
we
of
kind of got stuck, right?
Yeah. I think my dad just wanted to know where he was all the time, or at least, a big portion of the time.
Oh, no. That's good.
So what drew you into masonry? So there must have been a reason that you were interested in masonry, at least.
It's funny, when I started as the college kid looking for a job, I just wanted something to keep busy and make a little money to help pay for tuition. But once I started making the brick shapes, though, it was interesting, fascinating to me how it was not just a rectangle brick, there's more detail and all the things. And we started to see drawings that the architects designed that we had to make brick to make work as they fit it all together, right? Like Lego blocks or whatever they're gonna put together. That really took me on early on. And there was so much work to do. And I like working. I like working with my hands and physically doing work. And that really took on a measure to me that never left it. Once it got in my blood, years later, they called me the brick man. I couldn't leave it, so it's once it's in my system, I couldn't get it out. So when it came to all types of masonry, it does evolve into a wide spectrum, and everything that I do, even about cleaning, realizing the guys that are doing the cleaning are the last person on the job sometimes. They need to do it right. If they don't, they mess up what everybody else did for years in planning sometimes in some of these projects, especially new construction, right? And then the damage they could do to historical and preservation, good gosh, we got to really be aware. So educating became a big part of that for me too.
Yeah, and that's very true. We've seen some acid wash go bad on old soft brick because somebody didn't know what they were doing.
Think
So,
about Tim the Toolman Taylor. That back in the days, he was always talking about power, right?
right.
Everybody gets hold of a pressure washer and says, "Hey, I don't have to use a wooden spoon or a brush or whatever. I could just pressure wash everything off,"
Yeah.
not realizing the damage. And the brick have evolved from old to new. That
Right.
old, 1800 brick that was a smooth red shell brick can handle a lot, but not these coated brick that they have today, or the sand coats or
Yeah.
handmade. You have to be really careful with pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. So tell me about Masonry Cosmetics. What was the history? I know you said you got started with your business partner. Tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, 26 years now. We actually started complaint resolution back in the day, because brick don't match run to run. So,
Hmm.
what's a way to do it the right way? And we learned, Rick and I learned years ago, the wrong ways to do it. They took linseed oil and wiped it on brick and to darken them, and
Right.
it just didn't last. So there's a lot of things we learned early on what to do. Rick has an engineering background. I grew up through the plants, and what's nice combination between the two of us, he was working at another plant as I did, as we grew up through the industry together. Rick's been in the industry as long as I have. So together combined, we bring a lot to the table. But
Right.
when we learned about the glazes and clay coats and englobes and slurries, we learned how to do the brick the right way. But remember, if it's a shell brick, it's fired or vitrified at 1850, or a clay
Right.
brick or a glaze, it's over 2000 degrees. Well, what do you do afterwards? What's your options that you could do this could be long lasting? We worked hard to come up with that. So basically, Rick and I started the two men in the truck business right out of the garage, and kind of grew up in the business that way. And basically, it was taking care of complaints. But then we realized we could do match work and additions, and do we have a really good product that will last and also protect the integrity of the brick? That was really
Right.
important to us. And when we found out that special proprietary product, then we knew we had something to really go with. So basically, we're a full service company that travels the country. We've got crews on the road. Basically, we're seasonal because I need warm and dry to apply our product. We can't
Right.
apply it in conditions that aren't right. But for us, we really learned to pull a company together to do kits and all variety of different things all the way through. And that's turned out to be a pretty successful business. Like I said, 26 years. It's amazing to me that we've been around. I'm aging myself now, right? But we've been around that long, right? So that's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, that is great. And I think, sometimes I look back and, when you're in the middle of it, you forget how much stuff you've done already, because some days it doesn't feel like it.
I looked at all the
Yeah.
podcasts you guys did, and that is such an amazing accomplishment. And I mean, you have a wide variety of range that you guys cover,
Yes,
things
yeah.
that you can do, and then you've able to document that. And you created your own library. Is that kind of a cool thing today with technology today? I mean,
It is so cool. And I've been thinking about, so we're getting close to 100. We're getting close to 100 episodes. I'm like, what are we going to do for 100? And I've been thinking about another way to kind of introduce other people to the podcast is to get them transcribed and allow people to read it if they don't have time to listen to it. So that's my new vision for celebrating having 100
very
podcasts
nice,
done.
very nice.
So I think it's really interesting because I have been on job sites where the mortar didn't cure, the mock-up was fine, but then something happened in the interim, and now nothing's matching, and looking for a solution, or the brick not matching. So it's so expensive to redo masonry, as you know, and especially if it's an existing building, and there's something went wrong, and now you have to fix it. You can't just tear it down. So I think that your product is a great cost-effective solution for correcting rather than replacing, which is something that's very, very true for preservation. And substitute materials are encouraged if they have longevity. And I really like that your website talked about like the testing and your track records, and that it's still breathable, because that's really important with masonry.
Yes.
So can you talk to me a little bit about those things?
No, that's very good. So yeah, we would be the perfect cost-effective solution compared to what it would cost to tear out a brick and replace.
Right.
But I'd always say brick first, though, not stain first, brick first. If you have the actual brick, if the brick had been left over, or you can find the brick, do a search, find the brick first. If the brick aren't available, get as close as you can if you're doing a repair or whatever. Get good size and texture is really critical. Get as close as you can in color. then we can come on and do the rest. So what our product is, we call it a proven masonry stain. Basically, we don't create a layer. We don't create a layer that could ever fail. So, like the paint and paint-like stains that are out there,
Right.
no, they create a layer that can actually peel, crack, blister, or flake, or trap moisture that could damage a brick in a way. It can cause a brick to spall. So basically, we talk about two things. We say, don't settle for the bad brick matches, because there is a good solution that we could offer to help make it look good, okay, aesthetically. But let's never compromise the brick. And one of the things that we offer is our process will never compromise the brick. So brick intended to be a maintenance-free brick. We manufacture a brick to be maintenance-free. That's one of the greatest advantages that you have to brick. And there's many, but that's one of the greatest ones.
Right.
Once you paint it or put another coating on it, you change all that.
Right.
And now
it becomes a maintenance nightmare.
It does. And what's a lot of people don't realize is brick are different than wood or metal. They have different absorption characteristics. You ever see a human tattoo? We're actually tattooing the brick with our process. I'm getting embedded. It's color theory, one color with another color. So if you want a red brick to go orange, I start with like a half a cup and a teaspoon of pigment or whatever of yellow. And I put yellow. And when it goes on, it kind of goes on dark, and everybody's like, well, it's going dark. I don't really want it to go dark. I want it to, but when it dries, one color and another color creates a third color. The other competitors out there that use the paint-like stains, they can just go and get a machine to help them get the exact orange they want. And they take orange and put it on the red brick.
Well, yeah, like paint matching. Yeah.
It does. And they do great with that. It just doesn't last. And then it does change what that brick was intended to do. It's not a maintenance free, it's a maintenance one now.
Right.
So paint will get embedded, and you know how you go to remove, paint on wood protects the wood from rotting, paint on metal protects the metal from rusting, but they know how they got to remove it. They got to remove it to reply. They should. Layer on top of layer, the buildup and all the other problems that arises with that. Well, if they remove it, with brick, you really can't get it all off. It's very difficult for the guys to get all that paint off that gets embedded. So a lot of times they're painting over top of paint that's actually felling, and then it can even fell faster. And that's the damage that it has. So with our product, it's breathable, it's natural, it's the pigments out of the ground. It's what they make brick with. Right. We basically use what we figured out how to do it afterwards. So we actually need absorption. So 3 things to really be successful. We need absorption, we need to apply it the right way, and we need to apply it in the right conditions. That means dry, warm, those kind of things. I need to get embedded. So if someone threw a cup or a glass of water on the wall, brick and mortar or block, any absorptive masonry, we can change the color. Now size becomes, because you can't spray our stuff. That's another disadvantage we have. We have to apply by brush. We have to feed it in. So we actually stain one brick at a time, which someone thinks, oh my gosh, it's got to be crazy. How long is it going to take you to do it? But we do huge jobs, all different size projects. It doesn't matter. Just sometimes it takes a little longer. But we also advantages, we could selectively choose where the colors are. If you have a color in the wall, a lot of times we're not doing all the brick. It's just a percentage of the brick. So you have an orange brick that doesn't
like if there's only a section that's bad, right?
Right. So we're just taking a color out and making it's like 2 for 1, right? We take a color out, make it, and that wall just comes together so much nicer.
Now, can you, like, if the hard layer of the brick is gone, like if there was spalling or something like that, does your product repair that, or would that be a different process?
It would be a different process. Okay. Once the brick are damaged, you pretty much got to start thinking about replacement. I mean, that would be the best suggestion I'd have for anybody. Find out why. Is there water? Fall, whatever's happening. Yeah. A brick could spall, you're right, that's not ever been painted too. Something else is happening in that, or the brick itself,
Oftentimes in historic buildings, we see it if somebody put too hard of a mortar next to a soft brick.
Absolutely.
So that's often where we see it. But so that was because that is a common occurrence in older homes. So that's why I was asking.
It was because we thought stronger is better, right?
Right.
We did. Flexibility and movement. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So tell me about the kits that you offer. I saw that you have like professional kits and DIY kits, and so I'm curious about that because I think that's a great service. Do people send you samples and then you match the kits, or is it the kit like a wide range and it's kind of an experiment?
There's a variety of different kind of kits. Basically, it's funny. We have a coloring kit that's just for the consumer. They want to change the look of their fireplace, or maybe it's a repair that someone done, they want to fix or whatever. It's usually for the one-time user. Basically, it just has 5 colors. But the 5 colors, you got the 3 primary colors, your red,
Right.
blue, and yellow to make whatever you need. They're creating a recipe, and then black and white to lighten, or if they want a gray or something else they want to do. But it's actually a recipe that they create. A lot of times we give them a suggestion of a starter recipe, and then they can tweak it. But for DIYs, it works out really, really well for them. And that's done real well. We actually did kits many years ago, thinking, do you have to have all this training? You can't apply it like paint. So we do take them through a little bit of it's very simple. It's that old Karate Kid, wax on, wax off.
Yes.
But that simplicity is what you need with our process, because you're not going to put it on a bunch of times. One
Right.
coating, once we come up with a recipe, it changes it to whatever it needs to be. So you don't want to hit it 2 or 3 times, and that evolves into something else that you really didn't want. But it's pretty user friendly. And then about 2007, we came out pretty heavy with the kits. We came out one for the consumer. We had a Brickman stain kit for the contractor. It has about 10 colors versus, to make it a little simple for him, we put some greens in it. We put a sandy brown buffish color in it for him to help him with some mortar, and all that kind of stuff that they do. Even though the color kit could create that, we did it. And then we come up with a Stayman custom kit for the people that want to do the bigger projects, the home makeovers and stuff like that. And that we do help them a lot more with coming up with what they want to do. They'll come up with a test area, they'll play with it and come up with something and then once we get that approved for them, they can expand it. And then we also have the kits for if we're certifying the bigger contractors. It's a much bigger system that they have for those. So yeah, we have a variety of things. The color kit and Brickman stain kit, they're on Amazon store and they ship all over the world, those kits.
Okay.
The certified contractors, right now, we'd like to expand it to a world market, but basically we're certifying the contractors just in the United States right now.
Yeah. And I would think that that's a little bit more challenging, but I think that it definitely is to certify people, outside of the country. Like there's language barriers and, different things, but that's something with technology that can be overcome.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So for the certifications, do people have to come in to have training like in person? I did see you have classes and training on your website.
We do. We offer two types. We offer one for the business, if someone want to do as a business like we do. And we don't certify everybody for that. I just want to get the coverage throughout the country. And what kind of kicked that off was, you'd have some guys in New York that would say to me, Brickman, I understand you got the best process. You've proven it to me. I understand it. I needed you here yesterday. Where are you?
Right.
And we get so busy that we just can't get everywhere. And so they're certifying the contractors to do it throughout, to do the coverage, really was something we started working on, quite a few years ago, about 10 years ago. And then we also have one for in-house. Any contractor, it's a restoration company, any basic contractor that's out there, mason, that wants to get off that punch list, take care of some things, maybe offer, I got a window or door infill, but I can get a better match and show it to them for an extra fee. They can make a little money that way too. It complements what makes their business a little bit better, right? What they do. But 3 things. So we offer to school, and then we offer to go to them. So they can come to South Bend. Okay. And it's usually a day and a half, for them to 2 days. We've done about a dozen projects or more at the University of Notre Dame. Actually, it's a lot more than that now. We take them out there for a tour to see the jobs. We take them to some of the local jobs that are like 20 years old that we did all those years ago. They can touch it. To show the longevity. Yeah. That's nice. When they get to touch it and fill it and say, wow, there's not really a paint, isn't it? And it's not failing. That really helped us a lot. And then, but we also go to them. And we go to them if they need us to, if they can't make it here. And then since the world of COVID, we've had to go pretty much online. So we do Zoom like this now with them. We'll do a training, basically get them through it. And then we try to help them if their first couple projects come up. I might send a foreman down and get them started and those kind of things. But basically that's been working out pretty well. Yeah.
I think everybody's kind of had to make adjustments. I've done a couple seminars on for different organizations on Zoom, and I've decided that that is not my favorite way to do it, because you get no feedback from the audience. Usually I'm used to people interacting with me while I'm doing this, and I don't have any interaction. I'm just talking to myself for half an hour.
It is nice to be in person. I still find that I really miss that part of it. Yeah, but I understand that we got to do, right?
Yeah, so. No, I totally do too. It's just, I'm I need to get over this. This is my struggle. So is there anything that, as we were talking, that you thought about, you wanted to mention to our, or that, that came up that you wanted to share?
I guess, it's one of those things that it's never easy to do some of the repairs and the decisions what to do. And you guys cover so much from the window surrounds to everything. I mean, you talk about so much of it. When brick, though, when it comes to brick and masonry, there's a lot of things that we can do right, when it
Right.
comes to it and the wall system itself. So we're really about promoting the integrity of brick. We support the BIA and what it's trying to do to safeguard the integrity of the brick industry. And I would share this with you that the country right now, I believe, is being totally misled with, and I'm talking specifically exterior brick, not interior,
Right.
all the painting of brick. And a lot of people that are going to build a new home, this really surprised me. They're buying a new home, building a new home, and they're immediately painting it.
Oh, really?
And they realize that they're trapping all the moisture. And I'm thinking, find the right brick color you want and have
Right.
this to be a maintenance free. But they don't
You
realize
don't need to paint it. Yeah.
it's a mistake, and it's heavy. They're
is.
in the paint industry, and I'm not beating them up. I'm not against paint. I
Right.
paint in drywall. I paint inside. I paint interior. I understand painting metal
You
and
paint
wood.
your woodwork. Yeah.
Not brick, though. Brick doesn't
No.
ever need to be painted. So it's compromised in so many ways. And then when they're doing the new construction, they're trapping all that moisture. Is anybody thinking about? They worry about mold and other things, but they're trapping all that moisture. And I don't think
Right.
people realize a brick wall needs to breathe, and it also needs to work the moisture out. New construction.
Right.
You ever see efflorescence and new construction bloom? They
Yes.
call it.
Yeah.
It's because moisture needs to work itself out.
Yeah. They're building
And
the houses too tight. Yeah.
now we're trapping all that.
Yeah.
We're trapping it with paint. So, and I know there's different kind of paint products that are out there, but they should really consider that and pull that back. So I've been an advocate on doing YouTubes and other things, trying to be a voice for that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying trying to sell stain. I'd rather just leave brick by itself.
Right. Right. And that is so true. And I know that the historic standards say that you can continue to paint a brick building that has been painted, but
I would say
the
that
recommendation is not to.
But I understand that, though. When they ask me what to do, I don't have a choice after once it's been compromised.
Because there's so much damage that can be done once you're trying to do paint removal on the brick. It's a labor intensive project. It doesn't even make sense to me to build a new house. Yeah, I agree with you. Just pick the brick you want before you get started, and then you don't have that problem.
And the manufacturers can make so many colors. They can do whatever. I don't think a lot of people realize it. They did a survey to a lot of millennials. I'm not saying all millennials believe this, but they did a survey that what is typically the brick colors that are available, and a huge percentage said red. Brick comes just in red, the color red. And that's just so not the case. It's actually probably not even the most popular color anymore. Used to be, though, back in 1800s,
because that's the only choice you had. You had the clay out of the ground.
It was. It really was.
Yeah. So, well, I appreciate that, and I agree. I agree that allowing building materials to work the way they're supposed to and the way they're intended to is the best thing that we can do for any building. And when you make alterations to that is when you start to have problems.
So if someone comes to you and says to me, what do I do if I have the old 70s or 80s looking brick? I don't like it. I really want to change it. I tell them to change the shutters and the doors first, and the trim and the roofs, all that. Right. No, let's talk about the brick. So the brick, we do have the best process for that. It's a proven, we have case studies over 300 now that we have out there, and we're doing a whole bunch more just to prove. And that's throughout 10, 12 states through the Midwest. So it's severe weather, it's not where it's protected for roofs or whatever, this big, or indoor, of course, indoor you're staying, but we don't have light sensitivity or whatever, but you physically have to damage the brick to damage us. If we do it the right way and the right conditions, and it's absorptive, they throw water and it gets dark and wet as the water absorbs in, we've got a great product for them. So we can offer that to them. They want to do the home makeovers and do those kind of things. We can help them with that. We really can.
Yeah. And that's a much better option than paint. So I think that's a great product and a great service. Did you have any offers for our listeners? Did you want to I was thinking, like, do you have, like, should I link to the kits on your website or anything like that?
Absolutely. Offer 10% off to anybody who wants to buy anything or get certified or whatever. I know the price ranges, prices all over the place, but yes, offer 10% to anybody that wants to do anything. Absolutely.
Okay, very good. And then how should someone contact you?
So they could email me at brickmen@gmail.com. masonrycosmetics.com, or just Masonry Cosmetics, our website. Through our website, they can get a hold of us that way too, masonrycosmetics.com. But absolutely, you can reach out if they have any questions or they want to talk about things or whatever. Fire away to me. I do that on a regular basis. Try to respond. If it takes a day or so, tell them to hit me up again. But we have a lot incoming. But yeah, absolutely, I'm open to any questions anybody would have.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming on today. I appreciate it. I feel like I learned a lot, and I feel like I understand more about your product, and I can definitely recommend it as a resource.
Anything we could do to help, you just let us know. I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Practical Preservation Podcast. The resources discussed during this episode are on our website at practicalpreservationservices.com/podcast. If you received value from this episode and know someone else that will get value from it as well, please share it with them. Join us next week for another episode of the Practical Preservation Podcast. For more information on restoring your historic home, visit practicalpreservationservices.com.